They didn't even call me. Just a cold voicemail. You're out of the family business. No explanation. No warning. Just exile. Understood, I whispered. But they had no idea what I was already building behind their backs. If this got you hooked, hit like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who needs to see it. You won't believe what's coming next. 3 months earlier, I was still waking up at 4 a.m. every day, wearing the same dusty work boots, helping. My parents run the bakery they built from scratch. I never complained. Not even when my name wasn't on the paperwork. Not even when my ideas got dismissed like noise. My dad always said, "You're just not business-minded like your brother Emma. Stick to what you know, frosting and flour." Funny how the girl who handled the books, negotiated suppliers, and modernized their entire ordering system suddenly wasn't business-minded. My brother Alex, though. He wore a tie once and suddenly became the future CEO. He hadn't stepped into the bakery kitchen in over a year, but he was their golden boy. Things snapped when I questioned a deal he signed, a shady partnership with a new distributor that doubled our costs. I ran the numbers, showed my parents the risks, but instead of listening, they turned on me. My mom wouldn't even look me in the eye. My dad's voice was sharp. "Emma, maybe you're just not loyal enough to be part of this family anymore." I thought it was just anger. I thought they'd calm down. But then that voicemail came. Cold, final, just 30 seconds long, enough to cut me out of the only life I'd ever known. What they didn't know was that, for the past year, I'd been building something of my own, quietly, carefully, every night after the bakery closed, something that made their small-town empire look like a lemonade stand. I never told anyone, not because I wanted revenge, but because I knew they'd never believe me. But now I was about to make them regret every word of that voicemail. Walked into the bakery one last time, not to beg, not to cry, but to watch. It was 9 a.m., peak rush. The line was shorter than usual. The shelves looked half empty. The smiles were fake. And Alex? He was in the back, fumbling with a POS system I installed, but clearly never learned to use. I stood quietly near the door. No one noticed me, at first, until my mom did. Her face froze, like she'd seen a ghost. "Emma, what are you doing here?" she whispered, glancing nervously at my dad. "I just wanted a croissant," I said casually. "But looks like you're out of those too." She walked toward me, voice low but sharp. "This isn't your place anymore. We made that clear." I smiled. "You made a lot of things clear, especially when you gave Alex full access to the accounts, and he started moving money." Her eyes twitched. "You don't know what you're talking about." But I did, and she knew it. I turned to leave, but before I reached the door, a voice rang out, a customer, frustrated. "There's no Wi-Fi to scan the rewards, and you charge me twice." Alex was red in the face, pressing buttons that didn't work. He didn't even notice me as I walked past him. He was drowning in a system he never bothered to understand. My system. What none of them realized was, when they kicked me out, they didn't just lose a daughter. They lost their entire infrastructure. I had access to everything: billing, inventory, scheduling. And when I walked away, I took all the passwords with me. They thought I was bluffing, until they tried resetting the system and saw the name of the new account owner. Emma Lane Enterprises. That wasn't all. Later that evening, Alex showed up at my apartment, red-faced, sweaty, begging to talk. "You can't do this," he hissed. "You're sabotaging the family." I didn't flinch. No, I saved the family. For years. Quietly. "You just threw it away." His hands trembled. "You think this makes you better than us?" I leaned closer. No, Alex. But it does make me smarter. Then I handed him a thick envelope. Inside? A formal cease and desist. Because the bakery, name, the logo, the website, I'd trademarked it all, months ago. He stared at it, stunned, silent. He hadn't just kicked me out of the family business. He gave me every reason to build my own empire. And I was just getting started. 3 weeks later, the closed until further notice sign still hung, crooked on the bakery's door. Word spread fast in our small town. Whispers in coffee shops, curious Facebook posts, even a local news blog that ran the headline, "Family Bakery Shuts Down After Internal Feud. Daughter Launches Rival." Brand. That part was true. What they didn't know was how big it had become in just a matter of days. I didn't open another tiny bakery. I launched Whisk and Rise, a full-service gourmet kitchen with nationwide online delivery, built from the ground up using the same skills they said I didn't have. Within a week, we were on TikTok's trending page after a food blogger tried our signature molten vanilla cream pie and called it dangerously addictive. Orders poured in. I had to triple production. And while they scrambled to find new suppliers, new staff, new branding, I hired their old employees, the ones they underpaid and overworked. They came to me willingly, almost relieved, like they were escaping a sinking ship. Even Lily, their head baker for 15 years, said something I'll never forget. "Emma, it finally feels like I'm baking for someone who sees me, not someone who uses me." Meanwhile, Alex tried to fight back. He sent emails to vendors claiming I'd stolen clients. He even posted a bitter Facebook status accusing me of ripping off family recipes. But guess what? Those family recipes were mine. Handwritten in a leather journal I started when I was 16. I had copyright on every single one. The final nail came during the town's annual fall festival. My booth? Double the size of theirs from last year. Lines wrapped around the corner. The mayor himself came by and called our pumpkin cinnamon rolls insane. That's when I saw them. My parents, standing across the street, just watching. They didn't say a word. They just watched as their daughter, the one they erased with a voicemail, became the name everyone in town couldn't stop talking about. But the real twist? A week later, I got a call from my dad. His voice was shaky, hesitant. "Emma, we need your help. The bank is freezing the accounts. We didn't realize how fast things would fall apart." I paused. Let that sink in. Then I said, "You made it clear, remember? I'm not part of the family business." Click, no anger, no revenge, just power. Real power. The kind they never thought I'd have. The next morning, a black SUV pulled into my driveway. Out stepped my mother, not dressed like the proud businesswoman she used to be, but like someone who hadn't slept. Her makeup was smudged, her eyes red. I didn't recognize the woman who once told me, "Don't embarrass the family with your little side projects." She stood on my porch, clutching a file. "Emma," she said softly, "please, just hear me out." I didn't say a word, just opened the door and let her in. She sat at the kitchen island, the same one where I'd baked my first batch of scones for school fundraisers, and slid the folder toward me. It was a buyout offer. They wanted to sell me back the bakery, not partner, not co-own, sell it. To me. The price? Less than what my brand had made last week alone. She tried to hide her shame behind a businesslike tone. "It's either that, or we file for bankruptcy. Alex made too many mistakes. We didn't listen to you and we're paying for it." I flipped through the papers. The numbers were worse than I thought. They were bleeding money from every corner. Unpaid taxes, debt from their failed partnership, supplier contracts that had backfired. I looked up. "You're not just losing a business. You're losing the house, too." She nodded, eyes glassy. We know. There was a long pause. You didn't believe in me, I said. You listened to Alex. You told me I was just the help. Tears filled her eyes. We were wrong. I should have felt triumph. I should have wanted to rub it in. But what I felt was clarity. All those years, I had chased their approval, sacrificed weekends, skipped college offers, said yes when I should have said no. And now, they were finally seeing who I had become. Without them, I signed the papers, but not to save the bakery, to shut it down completely. Because some legacies aren't worth preserving. Some doors deserve to be closed for good. I gave every loyal employee 6-month severance from my personal account. Then I donated the building to a local culinary school, on one condition, that they name the student kitchen the Emma Lane Lab. The irony, the same space they tried to erase me from, now carries my name on the walls. The very next week, an email from a major investor landed in my inbox. He wanted to expand Whisk and Rise into 5 cities, called it the fastest-growing culinary disruptor he'd ever seen. I didn't even hesitate. Because this time, I wasn't waiting for a family to choose me. I was choosing myself. 6 months later, I stepped off a private jet in San Diego, wearing a navy blazer with the Whisk and Rise logo stitched on the sleeve and my initials embossed in gold. A driver held a sign with my name, and behind him stood a camera crew from a national food network. They were filming a documentary called From Betrayal to Billion-Dollar Brand, and I was the headline. The bakery I grew up in? Gone. The building had been transformed into a state-of-the-art training center for women entrepreneurs. Girls who were once told, "This isn't your lane," were now baking, designing, building brands, all under my mentorship. I had become the woman I once needed. My parents, they moved out of town. Quietly. No goodbye, no public statement. Alex tried launching a frozen pastry brand, but it flopped within weeks. People don't trust someone who burned bridges so publicly. They faded into silence. And I didn't chase them. But one day, a letter arrived. No return address. Just my name in neat handwriting. Inside, a note from my dad. "Emma, I watched your interview last night. I couldn't sleep. You did everything we thought you couldn't. And more. I was wrong. We were wrong. I hope someday you'll forgive us." Dad. I stared at it for a long time. Not angry. Not bitter. Just calm. Because forgiveness doesn't always mean going back. Sometimes it just means finally being free. That night, I stood on the balcony of my new headquarters. The city lights stretched endlessly. And below me, dozens of women, young, old, hopeful, were hard at work in our test kitchens. One of them waved up at me, flour on her apron, joy in her eyes. And in that moment, I realized I was never out of the family business. I just built a better family, one that chose me back.